And welcome everyone to the Circle Debate and the Wrestling Delorean and Cage My IQ podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, we're back with another New Japan show. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the host of TV's One Ivan C here with my other host, mi compadre, mi sangre, my blood, who's also a COD blood member of the bloodline, because we're the bloodline, not you, bro. Sorry, bro. That's right.
Acknowledge us.
Acknowledge us, damn it. And that is right. I have the dinero of all dineros, the dinero. Hey, that's right. Who takes it back in time, ladies and gentlemen. And we are going to take it back in time today. Ladies and gentlemen, Mike De Niro, ladies and gentlemen. That's right.
What's good? What's good? I'm excited to talk New Japan. I never get to talk New Japan, so Tuesdays is going to be my favorite show.
That is right. And so we're here, ladies and gentlemen. We're waiting for Dan. Hopefully he'll come in shortly joining us. Since we already are arriving upon this weekend for the G1 Climax number 32 coming up this weekend, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you tune in on NewJapanWorld.com, as there you have it. On July 16th, coming to you this Saturday is when the G1 begins. And the announcement they made is, I believe, based on Dan, what he advised us, that it'll be free for the first week, which is fantastic. So,
Yes,
I mean,
definitely.
if go to NewJapanWorld.com, see it for free for the first week of the New Japan G1 Climax. So we're here.
Little sample size.
Exactly. So we're here to commemorate and give our top 5 picks of the week for this week on the COD and Wrestling Delorean and Cage My IQ, as we are picking, ladies and gentlemen, the top 5 G1 Climax winners. Now, this is a tough one. I can tell you that. This is because this goes back, I could tell you guys, this goes back in 1974, of course, when the legendary Antonio Inoki founded this tournament, and he did a fantastic job of creating this tournament. At first, it was called as the World League, and of course, bringing people around from the world, from the United States, from North America, from Europe, bringing everyone for this round robin tournament, excuse me. That it was 8 people at first. And then from there, the winner will win this precious trophy that I'll show Inoki, the one he was winning at the time, that prestigious trophy in the beginning of the time.
It's a lot bigger than the new trophy.
Yeah, right? A lot bigger. And of course, throughout the years, they changed it around. And then, of course, they had the MSG League from 1978 to 1982, which gave a lot of the American fan base to come along and actually come see not only just Japanese wrestlers, but also American wrestlers like Stan Hansen, Big Van Vader. You had the likes of Hulk Hogan as there too as well. Mm-hmm. So many fantastic, American stars that you've seen in the 80s in the World Wrestling Federation and even the WCW, NWA as well. And throughout the time, of course, it was known as the IWGP League from 1983, and which it was known as the International Wrestling Grand Prix. And then from there, exactly, that's how the IWGP was born, ladies and gentlemen. And now, in 1991, became the first ever G1 Climax, which I guess in Japanese means it means to the race, like a horse race, so a race to the finish line. And this was during the tenure of Inoki at that time. That's him stepping down, and he allowed, obviously, the president, which is Seiji Sakaguchi. He's the one that actually named this tournament the G1. So it all started with 8 people. Then it started with 8. Then with 8, with 16, and then 28, 32, and so on. So with different blocks, not just 2. It was actually more than that. This was way back in the 70s and the 80s. So we're here today to give our top 5 of this G1, but we're going to start from 91 until all the way, because that's why, if giving everybody the knowledge here. See, this is Matt Callis' job, but I'm doing it. See, that's why it's 32 years. If you calculate from 1991 to this year right now, it is technically 31, but the finals is on New Year's Day, which is pretty much the winner of the G1 starting from that time. So that's why it commemorates 32 years of this fantastic tournament, and has highlighted a lot, and it gave a lot of eyes to the American, fans like ourselves, because back in the days it wasn't. And now it actually gave us that eyes, throughout the later years of the winners that have won, like Chono, like Keiji Moodle, Tencent. I could go on and on. There's just so many of this tournament. So we're here, ladies and gentlemen, the Nero and I to give our top 5 G1 picks. And hopefully Dan joins us. I don't know if he fell asleep.
He might make a run-in.
He might make a run-in, ladies and gentlemen. But looks like, you know what? I'll take it away, man. I'll save you best for last. So I am going to go with my number 5 pick, and I'm going to start off for the beginning of time. And that is, of course, the first ever G1 Climax, and that was Keiji Moodle versus Masahiro Chono, and that was in 1991, the first ever G1 Climax. And man, all I can tell you is this is a young version of Keiji Moodle and Chono. Man, this match, I can tell you right here, was it. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have YouTube, or please look for this match, because this match was
such good shit.
It is great storytelling. It was absolutely great storytelling because these are your students of Inoki, Keiji Moodle and Chono, who were in the same class with, in the dojo at the time with Inoki. But this match went back and forth, went over 32 minutes. They put on a hell of a show, these two individuals, and it was fucking fantastic. I can tell you that right now. And like I said, this one overall was really incredible. I really enjoyed this one. My number 5 right here, the G1 1991, the first ever Keiji Moodle versus Chono. You got to go back and watch this match, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, let me see here. I got to take off the banner here. And there he is.
Hey! Told you he's making a run-in.
He's making a run-in, ladies and gentlemen.
Cashing in money in the bank.
Crashing in that G1.
Right. Just call me the true Irish ace.
What's good, man?
My boy Dan here from Cage My IQ Podcast joining us now. He's here in action now. Yeah, that's right. That is right, man. So that's my number 5 pick. If you saw, Dan, that's my number 5 right there. I know, right? All right. Oh, my number 4 pick. This one, because I think this is the one that made him be the one. And that is, of course, the ace himself, Tanahashi versus Nakamura, 2015, the G1 Climax. This match right here, and this is the second time where they meet, because this is a time where Nakamura was already on the way out and heading towards NXT at the time. But I could tell you that these two individuals put a instant classic. I like this is the second time they meet. So this was more of emotional passing the torch type of rivalry. And this one itself made Tanahashi to become the ace in New Japan, winning the G1 against Shinsuke Nakamura. And this match went over 29 minutes. They fucking put a hellacious battle, and it was very emotional because when Nakamura seen that he lost, and seeing Tanahashi like raising being his hand raised, and Nakamura actually, here, let me help you, and he raised him up and congratulated him, passing him the torch, because this is when Nakamura was the leader of Chaos. This is when Nakamura was pretty much a staple at the time for New Japan during his early stages in his career, before even the foundation of Chaos itself, before Okada came and take over. So that's my number 4 pick.
A lot of people don't realize how good of I wouldn't say a rivalry, but the matches that they had in New Japan, because of the fact that that's around the time that Okada and Naito started to work together, and that kind of overshadowed this a little bit.
Yeah. Absolutely. It
had great chemistry.
Absolutely. Yes, it did hit it towards that direction. And of course, my number 3 pick will be Tetsuya Naito versus Kenny Omega. That is right. This match right here, Jesus Christ. This match, Woo! I fucking loved it, man. This was the one that. This is the second time where Naito finally won for the second time the G1. I know the first one meant for him, but I believe his redemption on the second one was the most meaningful one for him because, he finally got to, when he first lost the first time at Wrestle Kingdom, so he needed to get back at it again and win the G1. And this is the one that really mattered to him because this is Kenny Omega, the leader of the Bullet Club. And this is the time that he needed to make this a win so he could face Kazuchika Okada at the Wrestle Kingdom at the following year to try to win the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. But this one meant a lot for Naito, and these guys put a 35-minute match, fucking killer. If you guys have YouTube, go watch this shit because this match right here, it was glorious. I can tell you that, glorious at its best. So I mean. And this is again for Kenny Omega because the year before he won the G1, and then right after this is when he was made it back to the finals. But nobody expected him to lose. I mean, nobody did. I didn't expect him to lose. Honestly, I thought he was gonna win and go once again get his rematch. But Naito ended up caught everybody off guard. He ended up winning. So that man, I was happy for Naito.
He got his revenge from like a year or two ago when he lost to Omega.
Yes.
Yeah,
facts. That is right. I think it was 2 years. But yeah, 2 years. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And my number 2. Yes, I know I can't go back all the way back to 1991. I cannot do that because it's difficult to do that. But my number 2 pick will have to be Koda Ibushi versus Sonata, man. That match, Jesus. I'm trying to look for the picture, man. But man, this one meant for me because me being a big fan of Sonata and just seeing these guys beating the shit out of each other. I really wanted Sonata to win. I'm like, it's about his damn time. Make it happen, for God's sakes. And no, they didn't make it happen. Unfortunately, no.
And just the way that he made the finals was great. Losing the first 2 or 3 matches, and then he won it all out, and then to beat Evil to make it to the finals.
Yeah, to do the comeback, yeah.
Yes.
That's my 2022 pick.
Oh, man. But, oh, my God. I swear I was crying. Yes. I'm a man. Man have emotions. So, yes.
When
Sonata lost, yes, that's how I was. I did cry because I wanted Sonata. Like, yes,
I was there. I'm there with you.
It was like I wanted it to happen, but it didn't. Damn. I know. Good thing I didn't bet on this shit because I would have bet on it. It would have been way worse. I would have lost a lot of money. I was willing to put $1,000 on that match, but I'm glad I didn't do that because I would have been, double crying. And my pockets would have been crying. Numero uno, of course, has to be the recent one, and that is, of course, the 2021 G1, Okada versus Koda Ibushi. This match had a lot of meaning to it, especially for Ibushi itself, because he can never get Okada over, and that's always been. Because Okada is like just to give everybody, and I know people are going to get shitted on, Okada is your John Cena of New Japan. Straight out.
But you can see him, though.
You can.
It's the only difference.
Yes, you can see him. You can see him on top of the world. On top of the world.
Of the world, Craig. Shit, not just the city, the world.
That's right. You see, he's on top of the world. But this match was 32 minutes, and Ibushi going for that Phoenix Splash destroyed his shoulder, his face, his orbital bone. It stopped the match, but there was a lot of meaning to this because this is Ibushi for him to prove himself that he can beat Okada, and that's the only. I can tell you that's the only opponent that Ibushi needs to beat. is Okada. But unfortunately, of course, Okada was the one on the top, who still look. I'm gonna say right now. I mean, Okada's one of the Mountain Rushmores in New Japan. I as much as people is tired of him, being there, him being always the champion. I know it gets boring, just like the WWE, but this man delivers. He brings you stories in the ring besides out in the ring. This guy delivers. He does bring that Rainmaker for a reason. That's why he's called himself the Rainmaker for that. So that's my number one. And I have one honorable mention. This one because it was the last class of the Inoki Dojo. And these two guys were best friends until one of them left. And then finally one of them came back, left to All Japan, and then came back to New Japan. And they finally met in the finals because they were two former best friends, tag team partners at the time. And one of them was tired of the Japanese tradition and wanted to make something different. And so my honorable mention that I'm talking about is Hiroshi Tanahashi versus Satoshi Kochima. And that's in 2006 at G1 Climax. These two individuals put a hellacious storytelling, emotional match because these were former best friends and former partners. They pretty much grew up in a business together. They started together. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. That is right. Absolutely. They founded that. And then obviously Kojima leaving and then coming back and becoming pretty much the heel guy. Tenzan, of course, winning the G1, but this match delivered, and it was an intense storyline. And nobody thought they would meet in the finals, and they did. And it was just such a fantastic story to see, Kojima and Tenzan to the fight. And Tenzan's underrated, even though he's still there, but he's underrated. Another, fantastic New Japan wrestler that he is, along with Hiroki Goto. And there's so many in this list that it was hard for me to pick. So I mean, that's pretty much my picks right here, gentlemen. Those are my picks.
That's a great list.
Nice list.
Great list.
All right. I should get the wheel ready. Let's see who should go. All right. Let me get that wheel ready.
Rock, paper, scissors.
All right. Let me get that wheel ready. But let me erase the names, though. So it will be here. Let's see. All right. I'm getting it ready here. All right, let me see here. Let me get the full screen on. And now let me share my screen. And let's see who goes next. Here we go. Spin that wheel.
Hey.
Hey.
Who's this Dan that we speak of?
Who is he? Who are you? Well, the floor is yours, my brother. Take it away.
My list isn't as broad as yours. I started a little bit late. But I've watched a lot of the past 7 to 8 years of the G1 Climax, and it's been a lot to digest. But we've talked about how much we love G1. My number 5 would be 2011 Shinsuke Nakamura. He wound up going 7-3 in his block. He faced Naito in the finals, who wound up going 6-3. To me, it was kind of a showcase for Nakamura. We all know him going over to NXT. His first match was Sami Zayn, and I feel like ever since then, he's been on the way down. I feel like they started to do a little bit better with him in WWE, but he never has gotten to the level that he was in New Japan and NXT, how much of a star that he could be. And these two guys had great matches throughout New Japan. I believe they had the 1 year where they both fought for the world title, but it was they fought for the IC title, and it was the main event. That's how much these guys' matches were where it was put over the world title match. And I really liked that. I watched this match. It was a great match. Nakamura, I love him. I wish we could see him in New Japan again one day.
Amen.
Kind of like Kushida coming back. You got this guy coming back. I don't know if that's going to happen anytime soon, but the brother can wish, He can wish for him to come back. So that's my number 5 right there. Number 4, this was a personal favorite of mine. I had to put it on the list. We got Koda Ibushi 2019, where he beat Jay White in the finals. For me, it was very watching it was kind of very emotional because, of course, he lost his first 2 matches to Bullet Club members, Kenta and who was the Evil. He lost to Evil, and then he went on this winning streak. He winds up in the finals with Jay White. Jay White gives him that speech in the beginning, how he was like, good luck, blah, blah, blah. But then he cheap shots him. You see all Bullet Club out there. He sends him to the back. And that match wound up going, I believe, 35 minutes. It was a long match. Koda Ibushi beats him in that match. And then winds up going on to the finals, where I believe that's where he lost both matches. No, I think he won the first and then lost he lost both. And it was one of those ones where he thought that could have been the year for Koda Ibushi. He wound up having the moment the next year, but it wasn't this year. But he got that big win over Jay White. Jay White has never won the G1, and that's the thing that's just going to keep on going right now, is the fact that he hasn't had that G1 finals moment. One of the few things that he hasn't done since he's joined New Japan. So that's number 4. Number 3 was 2015, Tanahashi against Nakamura. He went 7-2 in block play and then beat Nakamura in the finals. I won't have to go too much into it because you basically broke that down big time with that one. These 2 guys had a great, if you want to call it rivalry, I would just say great matchups in the past couple years of that time before Nakamura came to WWE. It always got outshined by Naito and Okada, but these guys could work. These guys could go all day when they fought each other. That was my number 3. You're going to see him again on the list, Tanahashi. Number 2 is Okada 2014. Arguably, people say this is the best G1 climax ever. The competitor-wise, Okada went 8-2 in block play. He faced Nakamura in the finals, and he wound up winning the matchup. They had so many good competitors in this G1. It was one of the few shining moments of Okada at the time. He'll be building his legacy that it is now. Of course, you mentioned he just won last year's G1. He's won it several times, but that's one of the first times Okada had that big moment. That's
what year? What year was that? What year?
2014.
2014.
Okay. I'm looking for the picture. I'm looking for the picture. So I'm gonna have to look for it. But another thing of story fact, which yes, Matt Callis is here, but I'll say it. If it wasn't for Okada, he was the first one to kind of introduce the briefcase, and the winner will get a shot at the IWGP at Wrestle Kingdom.
Yeah.
So Okada was the first one to bring that to the table for New Japan, because prior before was just only winning either the championship or just the tournament itself, and it wasn't like you only won the trophy, or if there was a title.
Yeah.
But I can tell you that Okada introduced this, and this is him coming back from the States, and I think this is the time when he was already, I think, leaving Impact. I think this is when he was leaving Impact, correct? Yes, he was.
Exactly.
Right? Yes.
This is where he came back, had that big moment when I believe he won the title, when no one thought that he would, because he was just coming back. And And that's probably more than likely why I had all these more so moments from the past 10 years because of the briefcase. I love that concept of getting the briefcase, kind of like the Money in the Bank, but then it's going to be cashed in at Wrestle Kingdom for the main event. It's like Money in the Bank mixed with Royal Rumble, how you get that automatic shot. And lately, I've loved the fact that they've defended the rights to the briefcase. I've loved that a lot. We saw, was it last year and the year before? It's been doing it more, and then Jay White wound up getting it from Koda Ibushi to get the briefcase. So
yeah, they usually fight for it at King of Pro Wrestling.
Yeah, King of Pro Wrestling, and then they did it last year in where was it at? In November, December, like a couple months beforehand.
Was that Wrestling Dontaku or?
Oh,
No.
I think no.
What's that? What's that one? They've always had it in Wrestling.
It's always it's before Wrestle Kingdom, but
Yes.
I'm trying to remember what's the hell is the name of it. It's not Dontaku, so it's not Dominion. It's shit. What's the pay-per-view before that? That's a good question. I don't remember. I do not remember. Yeah. Which one was it? That was a long time ago. Jesus.
It was at Power Struggle.
Oh, there.
Yeah.
Oh, Power Struggle.
Power Struggle.
Okay.
So he won it there. So yeah, I like that idea of it. So that's why a lot of mine are more recent than, like, of course, the 1980s, 1990s, and early 2000s, because I love the briefcase part of it, because it adds a little bit more sizzle to towards the end. Even when the G1 Climax is over, you still have chances for matches where they put the briefcase up once or twice before Wrestle Kingdom, add a little bit of spectacle to it. And then number one, this holds something to my heart, just because we thought this guy was done. He was going off of the spear right before the match, that this might be the last time you see him. 2018, Hiroshi Tanahashi defeated Kenny Omega in the main event of Wrestle Kingdom that year, but he beat Ibushi in the finals in 2018. He went 7-1-1, made it to the finals, wound up winning. A lot of people thought he was washed. I guess you'd say washed up. He was done, and he had the whole spiel after winning it about possibly retiring, and then he goes on to the finals and beats Kenny Omega in, I think, Kenny Omega's last match in New Japan to win the title. Like, and now look at him now. Now look at him now, 3-4 years later, and he looks like he's better than ever. But there was chances that we thought that he was going to be done. He was going to retire, and he put on a showcase in that G1. So that's why that's my number one, is the fact that he was looking like he was done, but then he had one of the best G1s that he's ever had. And this is a guy that's won it 3-4 times, and he goes 7-1-1, and then beats one of the top rising stars in Ibushi in the finals.
Great list.
Wonderful.
We can't hear you.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is that?
I'm on mute.
No.
Wonderful.
There you go. I had to do wonderful again. Yes, it was good shit. That was awesome list, man. Wow, man. You chose the right one, because I thought so too. I thought Tanahashi was gonna be. That was it.
Yeah.
I did not expect him to win. I didn't. I thought he was gonna retire. I thought that Ibushi was gonna retire him at G1. I'm like, okay, I think it's his career's over. It's done, but no, he actually won. I did not expect him to win.
He won. He won the title, and then the thing afterwards where Jay White injured his leg. And got the title from him, and then we're like, okay, now he's done. But then he just kept on going.
Yeah,
it's still going. Look what he did with Moxley.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. All right, man, Mr. De Niro.
Let's fucking go.
That's right. Let's go. The floor
All right.
is yours, my brother.
So my list is very similar. Like, that's why if you saw me smiling when you guys made your choices, my list is very similar to your guys' list, but for other like sentimental reasons, I would say. So my number one is the inaugural winner of the G1, Masahiro Chono. especially like you were saying, that matchup with Keiji Muto. This was before Chono became who Chono was in the 90s and before the Great Muta. So this was a phenomenal matchup, and it brought in the whole new era of the G1 Climax, right? So number one, Chono. At first, I thought we were going all the way back to 74. So my real number one also was Tony Inoki in 74 being the inaugural. But
wait. So number 5?
Yeah.
It's 5? So this is number 5.
My number 5 is Chono. From
Chono versus who do you face?
Keiji Muto.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
The 91 one. Okay.
The 91. So the first ever winner, right? Like I said, they had to definitely make an impact because you're starting this whole new era of the G1 Climax. It's the first ever. So if this failed, then this wouldn't, ever become anything else like what we see of it today. Also, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, 1991, they had to wrestle, I believe, the semifinals and the finals the same night. So that was the first time that they actually had 2 matches. And like you said, Ivan, they went like 38 minutes. So that was their second matchup on the show and still went almost 40 minutes. So that even gives like even more respect to that matchup. Number 4 was actually a tie. It's 2019 and 2020 Koda Ibushi, just because of the fact that it was the first time since 2004 that we had a back-to-back winner. In 2004 and 2003, it was Tenzan. He won it back-to-back. We haven't seen that in years. So for Koda Ibushi to do that in 2019 and 2020 and putting up the matches that you guys talked about against Sonata and against Jay White, it was absolutely amazing. Classic, definitely. My number 3, 2016, one of my favorite wrestlers, the first Gaijin to win it, Kenny Omega. Now, there's been a lot of Gaijin in the tournament. If you even, like you were saying in the intro, when you go all the way back to the lineage of this tournament, it started out as basically Japan versus the world, because in 74, you had one block of just Japanese wrestlers, one block of international wrestlers. So with all that time, even in the modern day, you never had a Gaijin win it, especially in the G1 Climax era. So for Kenny Omega to do it, that was something that people did not expect. And this was during like the magical era of Kenny Omega, the cleaner era, where he was just taking over the wrestling world. He had, everyone talking about him. It was the first time in a long time that people were talking about a wrestler in New Japan who's never been in the WWE, never been in TNA, and was really making an impact on his own. So I think that 2016, the whole G1 Climax was insane. I remember his match with Hiroki Goto was a classic. So definitely 2016 Kenny Omega in my number 3. My number 2, just like Dan, is the 2014 winner, Kazuchiko Kada. Now, this was an amazing matchup against Nakamura. One thing I loved, it was in the Sendai Stadium, which was a place where they haven't wrestled in many years. And I think that they should go back to that. I think that they should run a stadium show for the tournament finals, because this is a big deal. I know a lot of people look at the other shows like King of Pro Wrestling and Dominion as the other A-B shows of New Japan. But I think that when you think of the top shows in New Japan's calendar year, of course, you think Wrestle Kingdom as number 1. But I feel like the G1 Climax Finals is always my favorite show of the year. So I think that it would be dope if they went back to a stadium. But I just remember like this matchup with Nakamura was phenomenal. I remember at one point, Okada goes for the Rainmaker and Nakamura reverses it into a flying armbar, which I know there's like been people who made GIFs of it, but it's like still, even though you're seeing it, it's like, how did he pull that off? It was amazing to see how quickly he jumped into the move. It was phenomenal. But this whole tournament in 2014 meant a lot to me, because 2014 in New Japan, my favorite matchup of the year, and in many years, was AJ Styles versus Minoru Suzuki, which took place in this tournament in Korakuen Hall. Also, on the first night of the G1 Climax, the winner Okada actually got his, revenge on AJ Styles, because earlier on in the year, in March, AJ Styles makes his debut for New Japan Pro Wrestling, then wins the IWGP champion, and then the second time that they meet was the G1 Climax show 1. So I remember the second time that they met was the first night of the G1 Climax, and they went 45 minutes. It was a classic, and then they had to wrestle the next night, which is absolutely insane. Because back then, they had the night 1 and night 2, but they also started to have the Block A wrestlers wrestle in like tag matches, and then the Block B wrestlers wrestle in the tournament matches for the show. My number one, Hiroshi Tanahashi, but for a different year. Hiroshi Tanahashi in 2007. Because the 2007 version of G1 Climax, you had a lot of the old guard, I would say. Like, you still see these wrestlers in later on years for the G1 Climax, but it was the first time that Tanahashi won. And if you think about what Tanahashi becomes in New Japan Pro Wrestling and how he really turned the tide for New Japan Pro Wrestling, becomes the ace. So turning the tide for New Japan and creating a whole new era for New Japan, when at the time New Japan was a little bit in a struggle, business was down a little bit, and they really put the whole rocket ship on Tanahashi. The G1 Climax in 2007 was like the star-making moment for Tanahashi to go on fourth as the top guy of New Japan. And then I say the rest is history because I've seen clips of New Japan back in the 90s. I've seen many matches of them in the early 2000s. But I would say, like, in this era, the Tanahashi era where he became the ace, I believe that this is the era of New Japan that I fell in love with, because it was this feud with Tanahashi and Nakamura that, you know, made magic, that made me a real fan of them. Then moving on to people like Okada coming in and then having the feud with Tanahashi and Okada, Tanahashi and Naito, Okada and Naito, Nakamura in the mix of that, like Bullet Club getting all this started in that 2007 year with Tanahashi as the top guy. And if he didn't win this G1 Climax in 2007, we would have probably never seen this new era of New Japan. So I feel like that's a very important G1 Climax and a very important winner. So my top five.
Oh, you broke it down. Wow.
Thank you.
Fucking love it. Yes, you broke it down. You're right. If it wasn't for this win that Tanahashi beating Yuji Nagata, maybe we'll not have the era we have, because this is where this is kind of, you know what's funny though? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. It's almost similar to like how like the Attitude Era was going towards the Ruthless Aggression Era. This is kind of almost similar to the same, because this was already, you know, the Inoki Dojo's already retiring little by little. They were phasing out, and these are new upcoming stars now that, hey, they needed to make a name for themselves, and Tanahashi was the one.
But New Japan took a gamble because at this time, the main event of Wrestle Kingdom was Yuji Nagata and Kurt Angle, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yuji Nagata was still like the top guy, but he was a part of that older guard. He was part of the Inoki era of New Japan Pro Wrestling. So, and I remember hearing that a lot of people, they weren't such a big fan of Tanahashi when he was a young lion and coming up in the ranks, nor were they a fan of Nakamura. They felt that Nakamura was getting too much too soon, and so they put him on excursion to CMLL, and he created this whole new character. People were kind of like uproaring and like revolting against these new talent that were coming in. So they took the gamble of pushing forward with Tanahashi, even though the fans still want to see Yuji Nagata and guys like Tenzan. They pushed forward with the idea that, no, this is going to be our new guy. This is the new generation. And now people love him. Now people want to respect him. But at the time, they weren't ready for a new guard. And if they didn't take that gamble, New Japan may have never saw this golden age.
And talk about this gamble. You got like the old guard where they transition through this match to the Tanahashi, you got Nakamura, you want to get Okada, Naito, all of them. And how funny is it now that you got the old guard that has been basically training and doing the matches with the young lions of the New Japan dojo? Like you would have Nagata doing the matches, Tenzan, you got Hanma, you got even Suzuki. They're all wrestling these new guard guys, and you got faces like Carl Anderson, Jay White, you got Hiroki Goto, you got all these guys that have been working with them. It's kind of like benefited the whole company as a whole, because these are the guys of the old guard that were the big faces, and they're the ones being put in these matches, training the future stars, creating the talent, and now it's made the company twice as better because they made that gamble.
100%, yeah.
Man.
Totally agree.
Love it, man. This is I love it. I love it. I love it. I am glad that G1 has become now the staple for us American audiences. And If you guys are watching or listening to us, you should tune in. If you really want to be invested and something fresh, something different, go back. And I would recommend to go to New Japan YouTube channel. Kevin Kelly will break down the recount for you very briefly of how the whole G1, besides us here breaking it down for you, but they can do it as well. So you get a better understanding of this tournament that is really high class, and it's been known as by far one of the most difficult tournaments of all time.
It's grueling.
I don't think there's no one who could actually try to create a tournament such like this. And this is impossible. I don't think you can guys correct me as well. I mean, if I'm wrong,
nothing like this.
Nothing like this, right? Nothing like
even John Moxley, the AEW champion, said that this was one of the most grueling things that he's done, and he did it it was 3-4 years ago, and he said it was worth it. He loved doing it, but it's very hard on your body.
Yeah, definitely. Oh man, it's exciteful. I cannot wait. I cannot wait for this Saturday. It's gonna be so fucking awesome. I cannot wait. This is gonna be a fantastic G1, and anything can go. Anything can go. And once again, just to give everybody, of course, once the blocks here. So let me go ahead and pull the picture up. You got to stay tuned. And like I said, look at that. That is a fantastic block right there.
If you want to, and then just like you said, if you go to New Japan Pro Wrestling, I think it's global. If you go to their Twitter page, they have a Twitter post where they have a link to the YouTube for each block, where they break down each block, and then it's in Japanese, but they have English subtitles, so they do like a breakdown of each fighter in each block, and there's a link for each thing, so you can get a kind of an idea of what each block's going to be all about. And I watched each one the other day. It got me even more excited. You got some new English wrestlers coming in, making their, I guess you would say, their Japan debut. They've been on strong, but having them actually come over to Japan now is going to be more exciting.
Also, people, check out our G1 blocks breakdown. We broke it down as well, and that was a great episode. It made me extremely hype.
Yeah.
Also, I know a lot of people, they were saying after Forbidden Door, these New Japan stars that they were not familiar with, they became interested in. This is a great time to really fall in love and like dive deep into New Japan, because right now is the most exciting time period in New Japan's calendar year.
And the first week of the app is free. So
you have no excuse then.
Yeah, so you got to go on there and watch it, because it's the first week you get it for free, and there's some big time matchups.
And then after that, it's like $7.99. And you're getting a show almost every night. There's a tournament night almost every single night for like a month. So you have no excuse. If you guys want something different, don't talk shit about American wrestling and not check out New Japan. If you want something different, now's your time. Free for the first week. Best tournament in wrestling. Why not?
Hell yes.
That's right. Hell yeah, that is right. Don't forget. But now, one more topic here that I want to get and discuss with you guys, because we are really more familiar with these international stars. And I want to get your comments. I don't know if you guys heard or of Kenny Omega's comments in regards for international stars, that they take criticism too seriously. He did came out on Twitch and the CEO Gaming, and he says that I'm going to read what he says, and his quote was, "A lot of our international talent, they came to this country not really expecting everyone to be as relentless and ruthless and have a shred of humanity. It's unfortunate that's not the case. It's not the world that they came into. It catches them off guard. It surprises them to feel so hated so suddenly. And they need to understand that it doesn't represent everyone's feelings, that people literally have nothing else better to do than to go out of their way and create an account to tell them that this and that or the other, something negative anyway, probably not just about wrestling, probably about the way they look, probably with the way how they sound, or not even be able to speak English. All of that. It's really sad. So, and cases like Hikaru Shida, Makihiro, Rico, Yuka Sakazaki. When I hear about what some of these pathetic motherfuckers would say because they think somebody else that has a podcast or platform to say something negative, they think that it makes it okay. The Yoshi wrestlers are so much more refined. They train 7 days, a week. They are so much smooth and more professional. And we have never once had any sort of backstage politic issue with Yoshi wrestlers. They do whatever they can, whatever is asked for them. So I want to get you guys' comments about what he mentioned about these international stars. And of course, I feel this meaning is more like, the basically stating that us, the American crowd, is more criticizing these Japanese wrestlers and they're taking it too seriously. That's what it sounds like to me. Yeah. So I want to get your guys' feedback. So whoever wants to take the floor, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll go first. I feel like overseas, the fan base is kind of more respectful, where like you just see in Japan where they stand up and they clap and they're kind of quiet until you get the big spots, but you don't hear them going crazy like they do here. They're more respectful. It's more traditional over here, whereas over in the United States, people get rowdy, people get crazy. They're going to tell you how they feel right up front, rather than not say anything then and then form an opinion later. And I feel like the international stars aren't used to that.
Yeah.
So when you come over here, it's kind of like a culture shock. Kind of like if a U.S. Star comes over to Japan, it's a culture shock, but they have already dealt with so much criticism that when they go over there, it's nothing for them. So it's like a little of a backward situation. And I feel like he's just letting them know, don't take it seriously. Just take it for what it is, for a grain of salt. Just be the professional that you are. And as Fred Rosser would say, block the hate. Just block the hate and whatnot. But some of them, they don't know how to take it because they're not used to it. So I can see what he's saying there in that aspect.
I actually think he's speaking about someone in specific.
Yeah.
There's a specific podcast. I'm not going to mention who, but
we already know who.
Former wrestler who was very critical of Joshi wrestlers. But yeah, I mean, I totally agree with Dan too. I mean, it is a culture shock. America is rude as fuck sometimes, and it's not necessarily the way it is in other countries. But I think that's because in other countries such as Japan, like wrestling is looked at as a sport, where in the United States, wrestling is looked at as a show. It's a spectacle. It's a show. We all know. We all are in on the magic. We all know it's fake. We all know that it's predetermined. So I feel like because it's more taken serious in other countries, that when those countries send their best stars to here, I guess, not me personally, but the American fans expect those wrestlers to act like just the performance art wrestlers that are in the United States, where when they're in Japan, they're actually wrestling like pure athletes. They are athletes. Professional wrestling is on the back of newspapers, the sports section in Japan and in Mexico. It's not like that in the United States. So it's a big culture shock. I totally agree with Kenny Omega saying, though, because just because it's different to us, the American fans, does not mean we should shit on it. And I feel like, it goes for humans in general. People don't like change, and they're only used to what they're used to. So whenever they get something different, they shit on it first until it's undeniable for them to love it. And I think that's a little crazy because there's been many instances of foreign talent, no matter where they are. Look at Rey Mysterio. I remember specifically when Rey Mysterio came to ECW, first time seeing him in the United States, people were saying he's too small, he's too what's called high flying, he's a spot monkey, and he's never going to make it. Now he's one of the most beloved wrestlers in the United States. So I think that people hate on shit at first until it's undeniable that you have to respect these people. And I think that honestly, it kind of shows a lot about, the type of fans that the United States fans are. Yeah, they're the most rabid fans and they're always into the show, chants and all that. But there is a lot of territorial bullshit that goes on in the fan base in professional wrestling. That's why you have AEW fans not getting along with WWE fans and vice versa. That's why it's instead of being like, we like what we like, it's oh, you're wrong for liking that, or how could you watch AEW? It sucks, or how could you watch Raw? It sucks. When it's just like people are so ready to fight for what they believe in. It's when you look at the grand scheme of things, it's kind of stupid. Like we're all wrestling fans, so this is my little peace speech over here. I just want everyone to get along.
That's right. I love it.
And then I just started this. Do you think that maybe this is why they have their young stars go over on excursion to like England and the U.S. to get used to all the differences in the crowds and wrestling? Not just wrestling, but
the criticism also.
The criticism, like they used to send them over to TNA all the time, TNA Impact.
Especially in the time when TNA was getting shitted on too. So.
Yeah.
Oh,
so,
right.
like you just think of it, Okada, Tanahashi, they got sent over Sonata, Naito. All of them got sent over here. Jay White went over to Ring of Honor. Of course,
Nakamura and CMLL.
All of them. Yeah, maybe that's part of the reason why they do this. It makes me.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. It makes me think of this too. Like, why doesn't the U.S. like WWE or AEW do the same thing where they send the young stars? They do have NXT, and then I guess you could say NXT UK would be kind of a similar situation. But why don't they send them over to Japan? Send them to New Japan and get that same.
Ring of Honor used to do that. I remember Ring of Honor, when they believed in young talent, they would have a partnership with Pro Wrestling Noah back in like 2005, 2006, and 2007, where they would send young guys to Pro Wrestling Noah to get some work under them, some seasoning, and to work with international talent.
Yeah.
I remember them sending talents. Like, I remember even in like 2011, they were still doing the same thing because there was a team, the Bravado Brothers. Now, I believe Harley Bravado, one of them, they're someone in NXT, right?
Yeah.
One of the Bravados, but yeah, they were a team that Ring of Honor had in their school, and they weren't getting really over with the American crowd. So they sent them. They were good talents in the ring, but they weren't getting over. So they sent them to Pro Wrestling Noah, get some work under them, some seasoning, and then when they came back to the United States, they were a more legit tag team.
Like the two names that I think of on WWE, they came over from UK and now they're in NXT. You got A-Kid. And then you got Jordan Devlin. Imagine those guys within that gap in between. Well, they wanted to send them over from UK to just regular NXT. You send them over to New Japan and put them in the junior best of the Super Juniors.
Well, that would require WWE working with other companies, which they have too much of an ego to do.
Yeah,
we see stuff like this for AEW. We see stuff like this for Impact, because I even remember back in the day in TNA, we did see a lot of X Division wrestlers in New Japan. We saw the not the Young Bucks, but we saw the Motor City Machine Guns win the IWGP Junior Tag Team Champions while they were with TNA. So they would do this, but I feel like WWE, they're too much on a high horse to send their young talents to other companies.
And
it's all working with our system.
And then with Impact now, you've seen kind of going back and forth between Impact and New Japan now, which is pretty
Austin
cool.
as well,
Ace Austin, he's been doing both. He signed to Impact, but they don't care. They'll send him over back and forth because, hey, he's getting experience against so many different talent. I just found out that Francisco Akira was supposed to be at Forbidden Door, but he couldn't get his visa and everything corrected, so that's why he didn't wind up being at the show because the issues that he had with that. That they interviewed him. They interviewed him, and he was like, they had a match ready for him, and he was ready to do it, but he couldn't get it. The visa issue corrected, so it fell through. But he was like, he's excited to have that international experience, because I believe he's going to be on New Japan Strong in the next couple months.
I really hope one day we get to see, even if it's just on paper, if we could get to see what the original Forbidden Door card looked like, because there was so many changes to that. Either politics or injury.
Just that 3-on-3 match. The Young Bucks said it changed 12 times.
Yeah.
12 times, just that one match.
We were supposed to see Punk and Tanahashi. I heard John Moxley was supposed to be in that 6-man match with Suzuki, Jericho, and them.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that original card must have been crazy.
One last question I have for you. I don't know if you guys have seen all that stuff that Will Ospreay has been saying about these high-paid AEW wrestlers who weren't able to compete in Forbidden Door. He said, you're paying these guys millions of dollars to miss a big time program because they're too brittle to make it because they get injured so much. And he was talking about Kenny Omega and Bryan Danielson, and then of course CM Punk.
And we know Ospreay been calling out Punk for a while. That was his dream match. So no, I love the character he's playing. I also saw what he was saying, calling out New Japan about letting fans cheer again, because he said that, you know, there's no studies that show that cheering spreads COVID or whatever. I think that was ballsy because, you know, he's going against the grain there.
Imagine the fact that his match got changed because it was supposed to be El Idolo facing him. It wanted to be in Orange Cassidy, and that's the match that stole the show.
Did you see what you saw? What he said? He said, "Sit me down with the owner of AAA and the owner of CMLL. We'll have some tequila and we'll talk all this out."
Yeah.
Oh, man. You know, like when it comes to the international stars type of Omega's comments, honestly, it's a cultural. I mean, think about it. It's like a sport. Like, think about it. Like, okay, like you have your soccer, your football. I'm talking about not NFL, soccer, football. It's like you're a diehard fan of this league. You're a diehard fan of this team, and it's almost the same thing. It's like Americans can't really watch like European soccer because they're not into it. Oh no, I like MLS, like, you know, for instance. I just like the World Cup. Or no, the Mexicans, they don't want to watch that. It's almost the same as, you know, difference like the NFL. Okay, you have your team, but I don't like your team, so screw that. You bleed for your team. This is how it sucks that the culture in general like that is when it comes to the sport, and they can't accept, you know, open arms. Hey, something new and something come along. Oh, you know, get to know this, you know, individuals, who they are, and you know, they bring different. They bring something else to the table instead of seeing the same people you see every other day.
Yeah, same style too.
Yeah, same style, and you learn a different style. And it's funny because people criticize about these international stars, and little do they know that a lot of the stars we like now was because of those international stars, because they were the pioneers of introducing strong style or introducing, you know, any type of like different moves, characterism, everything overall. And it comes from there. And then people don't understand that.
It's funny because if you look at the legends of today that everyone says, oh, my favorite wrestler is Eddie Guerrero. My favorite wrestler is Bret Hart. My favorite wrestlers, these are all international stars that came and made a name in the United States. These were guys who started in their respective countries, in Canada, in Mexico, in Japan. They came to the United States, and now we love them. But why are we not willing to give those same new stars a chance?
And Eddie Guerrero was in New Japan too.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Him, Benoit, Jericho.
Yeah. Black Tiger, Pegasus Kid. Yeah.
Yeah.
Was he Tiger number 4, right?
I believe
4. I believe 4, right? Yeah, he was Tiger number 4.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's an unfortunate. These, you know, fans do not really can accept that. I wish they could, you know, and give these individuals opportunity to get to learn about them. And that's why we fight of presentation with all promotions, not just AEW, but to everyone else, like Impact or you know, at the time Ring of Honor, well, at least Ring of Honor, they used to do packages of who they are, where they're coming from. I'm from Japan, and they'll give you a 40-second video, 30, 45-second video of who are these individuals. And I mean, I know that a lot of promotions are lacking of that because they could just YouTube it. They have the social media, the technology. No, people want to actually feel that when they're in person live or watching it on national television. They want to see, okay, this promotion, okay, AEW, for example, AEW, okay, you're bringing this guy, okay, Konosuke Takeshita, tell me something about him. They did not just, I don't need words. Give me a 30-second video.
You can't assume just because the information could be at your fingertips, it's known. You have to assume that, you know, people are not spending their regular free time Googling, oh, well, let's see, you know, what's a Japanese talent who may come to the United States. People don't know it. I mean, you have to present it as, you know, if I'm running a company, everybody has to have a character and everybody has to have a presentation because I'm not expecting you guys to know it. You can't expect your fans to watch everything and know everything. You have to know that, what's it called? There's going to be people who are disconnected because they don't know, and then maybe they'll turn off your show because you treat them like they don't belong here because they don't know. You know, that's the thing. Like, for example, AEW, it takes a couple seconds. We were talking about this last week with Roosh. Even if you don't want to show his CMLL and his AAA videos, he was the Ring of Honor champion, and you own Ring of Honor. Like, come on. It takes 10 seconds to show a really quick thing.
Him and Tanosuke Takeshita, he's been doing his thing since coming over here. I'm actually going to see an indie show with him next Saturday where he's wrestling Josh Alexander.
I'm so excited for him. I'm so excited for tomorrow, him and Moxley.
And he's actually, this summer is him doing all these seminars where he's doing 6 or 7 shows over here and on the indie scene, and he's going to be doing a seminar at each thing, talking to people about wrestling.
That's
getting
awesome.
that feel from, because he's from DDT. So you're getting that extra thing from him. They could have showed at least like a good package with him because he's pretty young, but he has talent. And they've been giving him a lot of focus on AEW. Even though he's lost, he's been in high-profile matches against big-time wrestlers like Moxley. That's who he's wrestling tomorrow. Moxley, he just did Kingston. He's been through
Hangman.
Hangman. They put him into these matches against very good competition, which shows that they trust him.
Yeah. So I feel like when it comes to the criticism from the fans, it's both sides. It's the fans, but also it's the companies. I feel like you should never assume. Even if you already showed a video package, show it again. Never assume. When you have an international talent there for the first couple weeks, you should constantly be introducing them to your fan base because it may not be the same people tuning in every week. You got to never assume. You have to make sure that these fans become familiar with them because if you're not familiar with somebody, how can you expect someone to get emotionally invested into their matchup or character?
Agreed. Absolutely. Well said, my brother. Well said, Daniel. Everybody across the table said it. Well said. I mean, it's the truth. And I'm hoping that people that are watching or listening to us get us understanding of why we digress about it, why we fight for it. Because, you're going to tell me that you're going to go to a restaurant and try something different, a different culture. Why can you not accept of different professional wrestling? We're not trying to force you. We're just giving our opinions about it. And what I'm trying to say more is, and I'm put it in a very nice way, but not to all the people obviously that listen to us or watch us, but people that are very hypocritical about it. You literally are, because you're eating their culture, but yet you're criticizing their culture.
Yep.
And that's what I despise hypocrites that does that. It's just, I despise that in general. That why are you gonna contradict yourself and be hypocritical about that? It's just it's ridiculous. But I'm glad that we got that out of our chest because because when I saw that, I'm like, oh, I can't wait to talk about it with the guys because this is something that I've been wanting to, especially us that we really, highly hold, Japanese wrestling at its peak because nobody really does it. Nobody really speaks upon it, and we love it, So,
and then I just got one last point that made me think of this. This is why my first opinion of the All Atlantic Championship was not so good, but now I'm liking it because of the fact that they had it Sunday, and then they showed it on, of course, Dark today, the match between Pac and Shota Umino. And then after the match, they announced that the belt was going to be defended again next week, but on OTT. So it looks like it's going to be a weekly thing, as it looks right now, where the belt is defended at a different territory or event. And if they keep on doing it,
that's pretty cool.
I like the concept of them doing that because it makes it a different thing where you got to go and wrestle somebody different from a different style or a different brand. And it just makes the belt worth it if they can continue to do that.
Yeah. Oh, man.
I love that concept.
Agreed.
I was hoping that this was the concept that they were going to go. I was hoping it didn't mean international stars just coming in, but also sending your talent out. I think that that's a great idea.
Yeah.
It is. Absolutely. But, man, don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, this weekend for free on New Japan Global, how Dan said it and De Niro said it. And there it is.
Oh, my God.
Let me give you the night one. There's night one right there. That is July 16th. Of course, You got Kazuchiko Kada, Jeff Cobb, Tanahashi versus Inoue Hinari, Will Ospreay, Phantasmo, Sonata versus Jay White.
There's going to be an upset. There's going to be an upset.
That is free. That is free.
God, man.
Guys, come
Let's
on.
fucking go.
Come on, let's go. You got to get on this for free because
I'll tell you this right now. Okada versus Jeff Cobb is worth the $7.99 for New Japan World, let alone that whole fucking card.
Oh, man. Hell yeah.
I will be up at 4 a.m. I will tell you that.
For real.
Oh, yeah. 4 yeah. I'll be
have a whole pot of coffee next to me.
I'll be up 1 a.m. for sure.
You lucky.
And of course, on the next day, following July 17th, of course, another free show here. Toru Yano versus Jonah, Zack Sabre Jr. versus Kenta. Oh, I'm looking forward to that.
Great to see Kenta back.
Look at that. You get a prime time thing on the Pacific time zone, 10 p.m. right there.
Bro.
No, I don't hate, man. I'm sorry. It's not my fault. Shingo Takagi versus Juice Robinson, Tomohiro Ishii versus Taichi. See, these are shows that you need to catch, ladies and gentlemen, this weekend. But besides that, you also, if you guys are also watches Noah, start beginning also as well at the same time for night one. Which is July 16th. Of course, they're having Final Destination as Keiju Muto's road to the end for his career begins on July 16th, as he will be having his final World War Tour match, as he'll be fighting Kaito Kiyomiya. And there you go. He'll be fighting. And also another one that'll be fighting in this card as well, ladies and gentlemen, is none other than the man himself. And I'm assuming this right here, Rob Van Dam and Masato Tanaka, the return of Tanaka versus Nosawa Ronagi and Super Crazy. We got nothing but ECW legends there.
I'm gonna be watching that.
Oh man,
why do I have a feeling that our roads lead to Nippon when it comes to programs? Like I believe just like you said before, how it'd be cool if, the G1 ended at a stadium. I'm pretty sure that they always have it at Nippon, and then the same thing with the Best of the Super Juniors. It always ends at Nippon Stadium, which is interesting to think about.
Yep.
Yes. And the main event for the Final Destination Noah, of course, you have Satoshi Kojima defending the GAC Heavyweight Championship versus Kanoe. Now, this is going to be a fantastic match because Kanoe is man. He reminds me of Naito a lot, and the way how his character, how he carries himself, but he's like your evil, like a ruthless. Vince, just fucking say it. I don't feel like saying it. Can you say it for me, please? I'm waiting for you to say it. Can you say it?
Ruthless aggression.
Thank you. Okay, there you go. So, it gives that ruthless aggression of Kano. That's what he reminds me of Naito so much. Not just more like your funny side of guy, smart ass, and laid back. And this was more like right in your face, will kick your ass, like type of like hentai anime style. Like, yeah, he'll kick your ass. But this match I'm looking forward to see as well. You can watch it on WrestleUniverse.com, which I'll be buying it pretty soon for us to have. Now we can watch it here, so that's for sure. So, man, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. We thank you so much for tuning in today and this special top 5 picks, which was hard, man. It was fucking hard. It was the hardest one of all time. Word. But we'll be back on Tuesday because Tuesday we'll do our week 1 of our recap of the G1. We'll see us here every Tuesday. We'll be discussing everything overall and also giving you the status of where they stand with the points. So Dan, De Niro, myself are excited for this. And this weekend, we're gonna be stuck in our TVs waiting for
it's showtime.
That's right. That's what I'm waiting for.
Very much.
Yes, that is right. Because you know what, the G1 Climax is one of the most phenomenal tournaments of all time. To this day. to this day, even though 32 years later, but that's because in 91 it started. But if we want to add it to one prior before, that's 48 years ago.
And I'm glad it's back in the summer and not in the fall.
Oh, thank God.
There's so much. It's so glad that they've got the schedule back to normal.
For real,
because of them having they were running G1 from September to October, and then right afterwards they were doing a combination of the World Tag League and the Best of the Super Junior together. I'm glad that they've finally got it back to normal, and you can kind of spread it out and have each one have its own like spotlight again.
Where it didn't feel right.
Yeah,
it didn't feel right.
Absolutely. Now, before, of course, I let my brothers go, Dan, let the people know where can they catch you.
You can catch me on 2 different networks now. Of course, everybody knows Cage by IQ. You can find me on Twitter at CageIQ. I'm on YouTube as well. I just put out my predictions video for UFC on ABC3. Also did my DraftKings lineup. I'm actually getting ready tomorrow to do my UFC London predictions early. I like to get it out a week in advance for everybody. So I'm getting ready to do that. And then me and a buddy of mine, Mo, have started the House of Wrestling on his YouTube channel, where every Monday we're going to be doing wrestling news. We're going to find a bunch of news and we're going to just talk about all the news. And I'm going to be doing a lot of like New Japan stuff on the network as well. I'll be the resident New Japan guy on the House of Wrestling. So I'm going to be doing that as well as on here with you guys. And we're just getting that started. So, check us out on House of Wrestling on YouTube.
Oh, yes. I'm excited, Devin. I'm excited. That's right. And of course, in the room, besides, we can catch you here on COD, but also we're going to catch the DeLorean.
Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, Wrestling Delorean Podcast, wherever you listen to your favorite podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts. If there's podcasts there, that means we're there too. Follow me on Instagram at Wrestling Delorean Pod, on Twitter at W_Delorean Pod. We have a lot of cool shit coming to Wrestling Delorean. I got a lot of new timelines that I'm going to be jumping into, which is going to be really awesome. I've been appearing on a lot of podcasts lately, so check out my appearance on OTTR. Check out my appearance on Top Rope Wrestling, All Things Wrestling, Coming Down the Aisle. Man, I feel like I've been doing like a podcast, at least like 3 or 4 a day. It's been crazy. But definitely Wrestling Delorean Podcast every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And Circle of Debate for the summer and for the G1 every Tuesday. The regular show on Thursday, and Top 5, which is usually going to be on Friday. So got quite the schedule ahead of me, but I'm excited, and I hope that everybody supports Circle of Debate, support Cage My IQ, House of Wrestling. That sounds really dope. I love the name. Yeah, just support everybody, man. I love all the supporters. I love all the Wrestling DeLorean passengers, and I can't thank you guys enough.
Absolutely. Neither can I. We thank you all very much, man. And yes, they want
appetite for life, and I want more.
Yes, they want more of you. Yes, they want more of you. That's what. Well, ladies and gentlemen, of course, here in the Circle Debate, the Wrestling DeLorean, and Cage My IQ podcast. Once again, we don't just podcast, ladies and gentlemen.
Professional wrestling.
Oh, damn it. Wrong one.
Will
over and over.
Make
Over and over.
history.
Over and over and over and over.